Welcome to the Authentic Man podcast. I am your host, David Chambers. This is a podcast for men who want more and less from life. More deep connection, more emotional intelligence, more self-awareness, and more great sex. And less heartache, less conflict, less overthinking, and less stress. Creating dating lives, sex lives, and relationships that are incredible and authentic. My deepest goal is that you, the listener, can take away what you hear in this podcast and apply it to your life so that you can experience greater happiness, transformational growth, deeper relationships, and profound sexual intimacy. I believe that as men, we are capable of so much more depth than we are shown or led to believe. So join me as we get deep into this. Welcome back to the Authentic Man podcast with me, David Chambers. And I've got a really, I know I say this a lot, but this is a huge episode, right? I've got a man who I've known about his work for the best part of maybe 7 or 8 years. I know men who have done workshops with him. I know men who've done trainings to be coaches with him. His name is Dr. Robert Glover. He is a best-selling author of a book by the name of No More Mr. Nice Guy, a book I've read and listened to, and it's got so many great, wonderful tips. And it sounds like that's such a simple book, but actually it's like real deep work for men, real work of becoming a better man, showing up with more honesty, more integrity, more assertiveness, more confidence. There's all inside this very little book with a lot of exercises. And he's gone on to write other books. He's written a second book called Dating Essentials for Men. And inside the episode, you're actually going to hear about the up-and-coming books he's got, the ones he's currently writing. But by no small feat, he's also a relationship therapist and has been for 20 years, a coach, and he also will always tell you he's a recovering nice guy himself. So everything he talks about is what he's been through, his own experience. He's not an academic who's, written about other people's experience. He experienced this stuff. He wrote his book out of his own lived experience. And I'm a big fan of speaking to people like that because they have a take on what they're talking about because they've lived it, they feel it, they embody it in their lives. And, we talk about what it is to be a nice guy, the syndrome of being a nice guy. And we call it a syndrome because it's something that, is almost an addiction. And we get into some of the negative traits, a lot of the negative traits, and a lot of the traits that we think, being a nice guy is a good thing. And it is good to be nice. But the nice guy syndrome itself is actually built on some very, very dirty premises, actually, and a lot of dishonesty and so forth. And we get into why that is. Like, even if you've read his book, this episode is great because we go beyond that. We go beyond just being a nice guy. We go into some beautiful stuff around how we can deeply connect with men. So if you're a man, you're listening to this and your relationship with other men, maybe you didn't have a good relationship with your father or your brother, how we can consciously, deeply connect with other men so that we can reparent that kind of part of us that doesn't trust men, and actually build a better kind of relationship with ourselves in tow. So we get into that, and we also get into some stuff around masculine and feminine dynamics, around how we can basically love ourselves more, right? And love isn't just a single faceted thing of like, buy myself teddies and, say nice things to us. Sometimes love is discipline. Sometimes love is tough love, where we have to tell ourselves to sort our shit out. But we talk about how we can and use the masculine and feminine dynamics that Dr. Robert Glover has adapted from other people to build that in ourselves. So it's a really great episode. I listen back to all my episodes, I edit them all, so I get to really enjoy them, and I really enjoyed talking to him because he's just a lovely man. He's a really, I'm going to say nice guy, but he's just a really genuine guy who really cares about the work that he does. He is engaging, he's funny, he's interesting, and he's a man I think he's probably in his 50s now, maybe, and he's relentless in his work as well, and he's just got a passion for life, a real passion for life, which is incredible to witness. So just before we get into that, to let you know about, obviously I've got some events coming up, but the particular thing I want to talk about is a retreat I'm running me, my partner also, Amy from the Temple of Feminine, who we did an episode with around sex and intimacy in the past, if you look in the back catalogue. We're doing a retreat. It's a midweek retreat in July from the 19th to the 22nd. And it's a couples retreat, and it's all about learning new ways to deepen your intimacy, to enhance intimacy, and deep dive into romance and sex inside your relationship. And it's going to be a really beautiful workshop where we go through like exercises, talking, and ways and simple, practical ways to reconnect you to your partner. Because, we've had this year where we've all been in together so much. It's very hard to be intimate when you're seeing a partner all the time. And even we talk about this in the episode, actually, sexual polarity, right? And when you find in your relationship that spark has gone in your relationship, or even when you're dating, it's a lack of sexual polarity. So a lot of what we're going to work with inside the retreat is around how you can reignite sexual polarity in your relationship. So the notes are going to be in the show notes, the link to that. I'd love to see you there. If you have any questions, feel free to get in contact with me. You can email me at hello@theauthenticman.net. And yeah, it's going to be a wonderful treat. And like I said, I'd love to see you there. It's going to be a really, really great experience. And also, I've got a couple of coaching spots that have opened up in the last few weeks. So if you're looking for some coaching around, dating, relationship, masculine, feminine dynamics, as well as intimacy for men, how to connect more deeply with your partner or the women that you meet while you're dating, please get in contact with me. You can get me on the email address I just said. So, sit comfy, or if you're driving, drive comfortably and safely, and enjoy this wonderful episode with Dr. Robert Glover. Hi guys, back with another episode of the podcast, and I'm incredibly excited about the guest I have for you today. It's a man whose work I've known about for years. I've met many of the men that he's coached. I've met many men who've read his book. I've read his book myself. It's an international best-selling book that has probably changed hundreds of thousands of men's lives, I would say, as a knock-on effect, right? And this is this real powerful work, and how men can really step into their power. And I'd just like to introduce you to Dr. Robert Glover.
Thank you, David. Good to be here with you.
Great. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit of, I guess people, if you're listening to this, you probably know a little bit about his book. But I think it'd be great to, what's your main work that you're doing now?
Okay. Well, we got a couple of different questions there. Let me just kind of give you a big picture of me for people that maybe don't know me well, or don't know me at all, or just want to catch up. As you and I were chatting before we started recording, I consider myself a recovering nice guy. And I do have two books currently available. One is No More Mr. Nice Guy, and the other is called Dating Essentials for Men. And I understand you've got men listening to this that are, wanting to date authentically, which I love that idea. And it's what I teach as well. And, I've been teaching and I've been a therapist for well over 30 years. And my work has primarily been with men for about the last 20 plus years, as I've done my own work around my own nice guy issues. And I just love working with men. My background, my doctorate's in marriage and family therapy. So I've been doing relationship work for over 30 years. And about 25 to 30 years ago, I got confronted with my own nice guy issues in a relationship that I was in. It was my second marriage. And basically my then wife said to me, everybody thinks you're such a nice guy, but you're not. You treat me well, and then you treat me like a jerk, and you embarrass me, and you put me down, and you hurt me, and you break your promises, and you don't follow through, and you lie to me. And she said, you got to go work on that stuff. And I go, well, I'm a nice guy. How come you don't appreciate me? How come, it doesn't make you happy? How come you don't like me? How come you don't want to have sex with me anymore? And I thought being a nice guy would make everybody like me and love me. And of course, my wife would want to have sex with me and appreciate me. And so I took her advice, and I decided to go get some therapy and find out why me being a nice guy didn't make her happier. And quickly, luckily, I landed in some good places where I really just started working on me, and began to become aware of this paradigm, this roadmap I had. Again, if I'm just a nice guy, everybody will like me and love me. Basically, if I'm different from my father and become the kind of man I heard my mother and lots of women say they want men to be, then I'll be liked and loved and get my needs met. And that actually didn't work so well. And I began to find out why. Now, around this time, as I started working on my own nice guy issues and started learning to be authentic and honest and transparent and make my needs a priority and have boundaries and ask for what I want and connect with men, as I worked on this, I started noticing a lot of the men coming to me for therapy, often with their wives or girlfriends, were saying, I'm a nice guy. I'm one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I treat her better than her ex. I'm raising her kids. I give her whatever she wants. I buy her a new car. I take her on trips, but it's never enough. She's never happy. When's it going to be my turn? And I thought I can finish these guys' sentences for them. So I started 25 years ago, a No More Mr. Nice Guy men's group. And about 6, 8 guys, we met every other week. And on Wednesdays, I just started writing chapters to give to these guys about stuff I was uncovering about myself, about nice guys, about how we got to be this way, why it didn't work, how to do it better. And so the guys and their often wives and girlfriends kept saying, Robert, you need to write a book. You need to go on Oprah. This could be a bestseller. And I never got on Oprah. Maybe I'll still get on there. She's still doing interviews. She did, an interview with your royal staff, a week or so ago. Caused quite a stir at Buckingham Palace, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely.
In the tabloids. So anyway, maybe I'll still get on Oprah. So, so No More Mr. Nice Guy, the book came out in 2003 in print. So it's been out now, 17, 18 years. And as you said, it just keeps growing. It just keeps, expanding worldwide. And I love that. I love knowing it's making a difference in the world. So that's one part of my story that brings us, where we are right now. Another part is that marriage that I referenced, I got out of that after about 14 years, really about the time, same year No More Mr. Nice Guy came out in print. We split up. And I found myself out as a single man, living alone for the first time in my adult life. I'd been married 25 years and never really lived alone, single, never really knew how to date. In high school or college, I'd use nice guy seduction. I would, maybe just try to sit next to a woman in class, try to know all the answers to the whatever the teacher asked so I'd impress her, maybe listen to her talk about her problems or try to help her do something, just so she'd think I was a great guy and maybe want to go out with me. And number one, it's not a real effective dating strategy, especially if you're getting the kind of woman you want. And then number two, if I ever did get a woman, I'd stay with them way too long because I didn't know how to go get another one. So I got to do whatever I can to make this one better. That's why I was married 25 years to 2 different women. And I say I shouldn't have dated either one of them more than 3 dates. But wow. I just didn't have the dating skills, and I wasn't very good at ending things that weren't working well for me. So when I got out in the dating world, I was in my late 40s, like I said, early 2002, 2003, late 40s, hadn't dated since college, didn't do it very well back then. And I decided I had to learn how to date. And I thought 2 things I got to work on is becoming a better picker. I got to get better at picking the kind of woman I want to be with. And number 2, I had to become a better ender, which that is crucial. I think that's the number 1 dating skill, because if you think about it, dating is actually a series of bad picks. Mm. And I mean, because how do you know? You think, oh, she's cute, or she's funny, or she's smart, I want to go out with her. And you go out with her 1 time, 3 times, 5 times a year, whatever. But at some point you realize, no, it's not what I want long term. So you have to end it. So dating is a lot of bad picks, often a lot of one and done, and then you end it. There's no more. That's it. And so I say being a good ender can cover a multitude of sins when it comes to being a bad picker. If you're a good ender, you can pick a lot of wrong women. Just, end it quickly. And so I got out there in, like I said, my late 40s, and there wasn't a lot of information just about dating, especially like authentic kind of dating. There was all the old school books about, Charles Atlas, don't let anybody kick sand in your face, that. And right about that time, pickup was really coming on the scene. Mm-hmm. And Neil Strauss's The Game had come out. So I read it, and David D'Angelo had all his programs going with Double Your Dating. Podcasts were beginning to come out. And so, I just consumed information. And I decided, I'm going to become a scientist. And really everything I teach or write about has usually come out of my own struggles. Something I struggled with. I struggled around being a nice guy. I struggled with dating. I've struggled with other issues. And then, once I dive into that struggle and find answers and solutions and tools and principles at work, I teach it. So everything I teach is what I've struggled with. So like I said, I was a bad dater. And so I just went out, like put on my lab coat, said, I'm going to be a scientist. I'm just going to try things. I'm going to get my ego out of the way. I'm going to treat dating not as a way to find a girlfriend or get laid. I'm going to treat dating as a way to practice more effective skills and just see what works well and what doesn't. And that freed me up. So I didn't really have to worry about getting rejected. I didn't really have to worry about anything because I was just out trying stuff. And, if it worked, cool, that worked pretty easy. If it didn't work, I'll go, well, maybe I'll tweak it a little bit or try something different. If I got, quote, rejected or a woman acted like offended at anything, so, okay, maybe that's just her. Maybe that was an offensive thing to do. I'll pay attention. I just tried to just keep evolving and learning. And I was successful. I was going on lots of dates. I was having a lot of sex, which was great because in my second marriage, I had very little. And my clients said, Robert, what are you doing? Teach us. And I said, I'm not a dating teacher. I'm not a dating guru. That's not me. I don't know what I'm doing. They go, yeah, you do. It's working. So I had a little, like a one-day workshop where I just consolidated some of the skill sets that I was using. And it's like the guys all, came back and said, this stuff really works. So I started teaching some online classes around it. And then the content of the online classes I taught for about 10 years eventually became the Dating Essentials for Men book that came out about 2 years ago. So, and now you asked, I'm working on 2 books, actually, probably more like about 6, but 2 I'm actually writing on. One is called Positive Emotional Tension. And the basic premise is that women have to experience emotional tension with a man in order to be attracted to him, sexually aroused by him, and stay connected over time. And unfortunately, in general, we men hate emotional tension in our relationships. So we don't create the polarity, the emotional tension that women need to be attracted to us. And then we think, well, there's just something wrong with me. Or if we do get with a woman and, we're trying to keep everything smooth and calm all the time. And if for a woman, if she doesn't feel us creating emotional tension, she'll create it, through ghosting us, disappearing, gaslighting, through throwing dishes in the sink, through accusing us of stuff, flirting with our best friend, getting a bunch of guys on social media, whatever. They'll do stuff to get us emotionally engaged. Now there's tension. And I tell guys, women don't care if this is positive emotional tension, like feels good to everybody and it's conscious, or if it's negative emotional tension, meaning it's very unconscious and maybe even feels bad. For women, they don't care. They just got to have emotional tension or they just get bored and move on. And so if they want to be connected to us, they've got to have the tension. So that's one book I'm writing right now. And I actually just started another one about 2 weeks ago. My goal is to write it in 90 days. And it's called Gym Rat Mindset. And basically, how can we hack all the things that gym rats do? If you're not a gym rat, hack everything they do and just do the minimal necessary to get the maximum results to get fit and healthy and have a good body. And I'm just having a blast writing that thing. I'm writing 1 to 3 chapters every morning in that.
Wow.
Book. There's short, quick chapters. My goal is to have that done by May to have it ready to go through the publication process. And I'm having fun. So those are the projects I'm working on now. I've got a whiteboard here to the right of me. I made a goal 2 years ago to write 10 books in 10 years. And I've got several of them listed here. I want to write a series of graphic novels for adolescent, young adult boys, integrating all these principles we're talking about. I've got a screenplay outline that I'm going to work with a co-writer on, just a lot of other projects. So that's what I'm up to.
Wow. So many amazing projects. Like the story in itself, right? Your story is a huge story of a man that's really evolved. Why he was like a real evolution as a man, but also inside of the writing is just like this real passion for helping people in the way that through the pain and the struggles that you've experienced yourself, right?
Yeah, I love teaching. I love watching the light bulb go on. I like it, when I share a concept with somebody and they go, wow, I get it. And, I love getting the emails. I get several a day saying, Robert, I wish I'd read this 20 years ago. Robert, this changed my life. Robert, you saved me. Robert, how'd you know me so well? So I love that. I mean, of course I like knowing what I do makes a difference. And I love doing what I do. So that's the bonus of it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful to do work. Like I love working with men, like when I coach them and you see them evolve over a period of time from maybe, struggling in certain areas. And they come with a focus, like, oh, my dating is how I'm really struggling to meet women or I'm struggling to connect. And you're like, okay, cool, we'll work on that. With the full knowing that by helping them with their emotional expression, for instance, they're going to improve their friendships, they're going to make more friends, they're going to be happier, their jobs start to improve, and it's seeing that evolution that's so beautiful.
And that's so amazing, because I say in the preface of Dating Essentials for Men that when I got good at dating, my business took off, my income went up, I made more friends, I had more adventures, life just seemed to get better all the way around, just because those skill sets, not only skill sets I developed that got me good at dating, but also how I became aware of and challenged and overcame a lot of self-limiting beliefs about myself and the world and about women. As I challenged and overcame those, it freed me up to see all the open doors out there of adventure that I could walk through. And oftentimes before, I never saw the doors. And if I did, I didn't think they applied to me, or I was too scared to walk through them. So my life stayed, pretty the same. And you mentioned kind of the evolution. It does feel like my life has been evolving tremendously. I mean, I didn't see being where I'm at right now 20 years ago. I didn't even see it 10 years ago. And I have no idea what my life's going to look like 10 years from now. I'm really excited to take that journey, but I'm really open to the idea it could keep changing in really interesting ways.
Life just kind of unfolds sometimes, and you don't know where it's going. And it's like you said, it's exciting. It's sometimes we get afraid of the unknown, but when you start to surrender to it, you can just look forward to it. You can love the process of life coming towards you.
And what better way to live life, right? I mean, we don't have any control anyway. I used to have a little icon on my Facebook page of a little kind of icon of a Buddha, and it said, let go, nothing's under control. And, it's not, there's nothing under control. We live in a very chaotic world, but the chaos is the core basis of the beauty. I mean, even like, everybody has been so upset about COVID for, a year now. It's really been in our lives for a year, and it's messy and nasty. My wife had a sister that died in our home 4 weeks ago of COVID. It's personal, it's real, and it is part of life. Life is built on viruses. That's and so if we all of a sudden start going, oh no, we can't have those kinds of things happening in our world, we're just going to sterilize the hell out of our world, and then there's no evolution. But the thing is, Mother Nature, the powers of the cosmos, they're more powerful than anything that we can come up with. I heard George Carlin one time that, we're not going to kill the planet Earth. She's just going to shake us off like a dog shakes off fleas.
Yes.
So yeah, what can we open up to? What can we accept? What can we surrender to? What can we see as an adventure? What can we see as a gift to say yes to, rather than going, oh no, oh no, oh no. And life gets interesting that way.
Yeah, definitely does. Definitely does. Let's get into the kind of questions. I was actually thinking that it would be really beautiful to start off by kind of defining a nice guy, kind of traits and actions and their underlying fears.
Yeah, a nice guy, and this applies for women that are listening. The same thing applies to nice girls, but we'll just talk mainly towards men. Is that a nice guy is a person who internalized inaccurately at a very young age that there's something wrong with them, that they're not okay, they're not good enough. That's called toxic shame. And it's a belief that I'm fundamentally unlovable, I'm broken, I'm bad. And not that it's just I've done something wrong, that's guilt. Shame is about me as a person, as an individual. And we internalize life experiences at a very young age, as I said, inaccurately assuming I'm the cause of them. And so, dad's mad, or dad leaves, or mom's sad or depressed, or dad's alcoholic, or he's angry. I must cause that. Children always believe they're the cause of everything that happens to them. And so they internalize there's something wrong with me. So out of that internal belief system comes some survival mechanisms of trying to be loved and liked and get their needs met and have connection, and that they try to become what they think other people want them to be. So they become very chameleon-like. Oh, around this person I'll be that way, around that person I'll be this way. And they try to hide anything about themselves that they think might get a negative reaction from anybody. Oh, I'll hide my masculinity. I'll hide my wants. I'll hide my sexual desires. I'll hide my perversions, whatever it is. I'll hide that if I think I'm going to get a negative reaction. So fundamentally, nice guys are false. They're not authentic. They're trying to become what I'm. It'd be like me doing an entire interview thinking the whole time, well, what does David want from me? How can I give him exactly what he wants and hide anything that might make David think I'm a bad person, or he shouldn't have asked me to do an interview, right? I mean, how interesting would that be? I mean, that'd be boring as hell. It'd be terrible. And that's really how we nice guys are, is that we just don't have that energy that will attract and turn people on. And I say in the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, that nice guys end up being like Teflon men. We're so smooth. But I say that people are attracted to and connect with other people around their rough edges. Like, by the time you and I get done talking, if you and I find out we've shared a similar struggle, or we have a similar weakness, or we've been through a similar pain, or we fuck up in similar ways, we'll have a deeper bond because of those similarities. But if we both just, sit here for, an hour and just, act as perfect as we can with each other, we'll go, oh, glad that's done. That's boring. And we'll never even think about the other person again. Right. So it's our humanity. It's our light, our dark, our strengths, our weaknesses that make us interesting people. And nice guys are hiding all that, trying to become these smooth Teflon men. Now, that has a number of effects. One is it makes them fundamentally boring and unattractive to women. Now they think, well, there must be something wrong with me. I just don't have enough money. Women are all gold diggers. They're all hypergamous. They just want the next alpha male. No, that's just bullshit stuff that men who are too boring say. Or guys say, well, I'm just too boring. Well, no, that's a cop out as well. The truth is you're too plain. You're too, trying to be just not anything that will upset anybody. So it just kills your polarity. It kills your energy. And women aren't attracted to nice. They all say they want a nice guy, but nice doesn't turn them on. They want the nice guy to listen to them talk about their problems and help them move and maybe make their car payment every now and then. But it doesn't turn them on. They never think, yeah, I want to get naked with this guy. And then nice guys complain, well, women say they want a nice guy and just go with the jerks. And so we think they're lying to us. Well, the thing is, I was talking earlier about emotional tension. The jerk creates emotional tension. Maybe he's unavailable. Maybe he lies to her. Maybe he's there and he's not there. That's emotional tension. And it's not so much that women want to be with a jerk, but they got to have the emotional tension. And if we nice guys don't create any, no, they're not going to pick us. And guys say all the time, well, women put me in the friend zone. I go, no, they don't. You put yourself in the friend zone.
Yes.
by playing it safe and avoiding anything that might get a negative reaction from a woman. And that's kind of, the golden rule that little boys grow up with nowadays is don't do anything that might piss off the woman. And,
Yes.
So we walk around on eggshells thinking, I can't do anything that pisses off a woman. And that makes us really boring. And so that's where one way it manifests in relationship. Maybe we get into relationship and we're pleasing and placating and trying to make our woman happy all the time. And I've done that. I'm guilty of that. I still find myself falling into that role of, oh, my wife seems upset. What do I need to do to get everything back to good, to get everything smooth? And I have to lean back and just let her have her mood. And what's funny, when I just lean back, I don't run away. I don't like, put a wall up. I just lean back a little bit and just stay focused on what I need to focus on, my work or my buddies or my interviews or my writing or the dog or whatever, my exercise. I lean back a little bit in like 30, 45 minutes, hour later, she's now moving towards me and being affectionate and loving. But if I moved towards her and tried to fix whatever was up with her, we'd probably just get into a fight and be battling all night long. So this nice guy stuff shows up in a relationship. It shows up in work and career as well. I have an online class called Nice Guys Don't Finish Last, They Rot in Middle Management. And one thing I say about nice guys, we're good at being good, but not really great at being great. Being great, requires too much of us. It puts us in the spotlight. Now people might have higher expectations. And typically our codependency or us trying to fix everything and make good impressions and help everybody get their work done and not wanting to risk or rock the boat or speak up, all those nice guy traits really get in the way of us in terms of work and career, whether we work for somebody else or have our own gig, our own hustle. Those traits get in the way as well. So these nice guy patterns show up in a lot of different ways. Now, perhaps maybe the biggest nice guy downside is that we're fundamentally dishonest. If we're trying to be what we think everybody wants us to be and trying to hide everything from people, we're dishonest. We're not real. We're not a what you see is what you get kind of person. And I remember going back to my second marriage, the woman I was married to when I wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy. She was really highly intuitive and highly sensitive. And she'd go, "You're lying." And she'd accuse me of lying about something. And then she would start telling me what she was sure I was lying about. And I'd be kind of, caught in my lie thinking, well, she's right. I'm thinking all this while we're having this fight, right? She's right. I am lying, but she's wrong about what I'm lying about. So I can keep denying that I'm lying about that thing, right? I thought, oh, how clever. That's her mistake of actually accusing me of a specific thing. If it would be better if she just said, "I know you're lying to me. I don't know what it is, but I know you're not being honest and transparent with me." Then I would have had to say, "You're right." Then it's rather than go, "No, you got that one wrong." "Oh, you got that one wrong too. I was lying, but not about that." So nice guys are fundamentally dishonest. And for women, I've been saying for years that the one thing I know for sure about the female gender is they're security seeking creatures. Since the day one of human evolution, women have been vulnerable. They haven't been as fast or as strong. They bear children. They care for children. They've always been more vulnerable. They've been preyed on by men. And even just looking at recently, hashtag Me Too and things like that. That's still women saying, "I don't feel safe. I feel like prey among predators." And so when we men cannot be honest or transparent about who we are, what our intentions are, what we want, what we don't want, that makes women feel really unsafe. And while they may, out of their dysfunction, still be attracted to men like that, it doesn't serve them and it doesn't serve us. So a lot of work that I do is really teaching men about, I know you like the term, authentic. How to be integrated, how to be real, how to show up as you, and let people decide, do they like you, right? The way you show up. They like you the way you like your hair. Do they like you the way you like to wear your clothes? Do they like you the way you like to live your life? And then life gets a lot more interesting when you're hanging out with people who like you because they see you and know you, because you let them see and know you. And they like being with you. So you don't have to work hard at trying to get them to like you or trying to hide anything from them that might cause them not to like you. And oh man, what life just gets easier when you're not trying to get people to like you, love you, or want to be with you.
Yeah. There's something that I see with a lot of guys I work with is they are striving so hard to be a person they think they should be. This image of, maybe it's men with money, nice cars, nice house, all the flashy things. They're pretending so hard to be something they're not, that there comes a point often where there's a bit of a breaking point where they're meeting women or they're in relationships and they lack so much energy because they're putting so much energy into maintaining this persona, this pretend person that's there. And when you see them let go of the persona, because you have to kind of shed the skin and start to decide what you like. Like, what are your boundaries? What do you enjoy actually doing? Like, how do you want your hair to be? And when you switch from being kind of externally referenced, looking for
Yeah.
your validation from outside, and you start going, okay, I like my hair like this, and you start moving through the world, these men become more energized because they realize that they feel that they have to put on this constant thinking and judging and weighing up and working out all the time. They can just be. They can just be themselves. They can decide for themselves what they enjoy and what they love.
Exactly. And the premise that I teach men both in dating and in relationship and in the positive emotional tension book I'm working on is that the number one trait for attracting what you want is to be you, to just be you. And I guys will respond to me all the time. They'll go, "Oh, don't give me that advice. That's what my mother's told me. That's what my aunt tells me. Just be yourself." But women don't like me the way I am, and I'll challenge them on that. I'll say, "Have you ever really let a woman see you the way you really are?" Or are you so busy hiding from them? Are you so busy trying to impress them? Are you so busy trying to be smart? Or, like you say, have a nice car or a nice home? Do you ever really even do you know who you are? Do you know what you really like and want? And, and that's the thing when guys say, well, women don't seem to like the me that I am. They just want the guys with the money and the car and blah, 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 blah. And again, that's just the excuses that we hide behind to keep us feeling safe. Now, the truth is, if you walk the planet being you, if I walk the planet being me, if I get comfortable in my own skin, live life on my terms, get up and live my day the way I want to live it, 99% of the population isn't going to even notice me or know that I exist or care. And the 1% or less that do notice me, out of that, only a small percentage of that are going to go, "Oh, that guy's kind of cool. I like his energy. I like his vibe."
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of them, again, are just going to go on about their day or not care. But if we're walking the planet and just living our life on our terms, we're going to naturally, authentically attract people who find that interesting and engaging. And, do you really want to be, for example, with a woman who is with you because you drive a nice car and have a nice condo? Or is that woman with you because she was looking for a guy with a nice car and a nice condo? That could have been anybody, doesn't
Yes.
necessarily have to be you. Is that the kind of woman you want in your life? Or do you want a woman in your life who likes you just the way you are, thinks you're fucking amazing, and can't imagine not having you in her life in some way? Now, I'm married to a woman like that. She thinks I'm
Mm-hmm.
fucking amazing. She's got her own baggage. We have our issues. Everybody does. But when it's all said and done, she thinks I'm an amazing human being. And I think she's pretty special too. And because she's a what you see is what you get kind of person. And I live that way with her as well. Since the first day, the first moment she saw me walking down a street. She said she'd never had her head turned in the way her head was turned. And since that moment, I know she's not had a thought about another man but me. And it's been 7 years ago or so. So my friends think I'm amazing. They don't think I'm perfect, but they think I'm amazing. My family, they know how imperfect I am. They usually call me controlling, but they love me. They think I'm amazing. And that would not have been true 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I was trying so hard to be smart enough, to be clever enough, to just do this enough, do that enough, that, a lot of people would think I was great. And nobody would have ever accused me of being authentic 30 years ago. And now they do. "Robert, I like that you're authentic. You don't hold anything back." And I go, that's the only way I know how to live now. And so people will either be drawn to that or, they won't even notice, but that's okay. I'd rather be with the people that are drawn to who I am just as I am.
Yeah. That's a beautiful compliment to get from people, isn't it? That say, you feel so authentic, because really that's what we want to feel when we meet people. Like,
Sure.
my belief is that when we meet people, we want to feel them. We want to actually feel them, like when and especially we're talking about emotional tension in women. And I think this is one of the things with a lot of men, is that women want to feel a man. They want to feel where
Yes.
he is, where's his edges, where's his boundaries, where are his holes, where's his wounds even, she wants to
Yeah,
feel you.
exactly.
And And with being a nice guy, you are being very cloak and dagger and trying to appear, as you said, like Teflon, perfect, So there's no feeling there. It's like there's no polarity, definitely, right? Because there's no polar opposite. You're sitting in this neutral space trying to be something to everybody. So it's like just feeling something, being able to make her feel something is so important. And it's something that I do in a lot of the work I do with guys is like helping them get more in touch with their feelings, right? Because I'm sure, as you see with a lot of the men that you work with, it's very difficult for us men to communicate what we're feeling. But before even communicating it, we need to be able to actually know what we're feeling, to spend the time to get in contact with that and like check in and go, oh, what am I feeling here? I'm feeling upset, or I'm feeling angry, or whatever that is. And I'm sure you've seen this with a lot of nice guys, is that they don't want to feel, and they definitely don't want to express what they're feeling.
Well, and and that's me. I mean, that's how I started this process. I can remember when I started going to therapy, started working on me. My then wife, my now second wife, was in therapy. She was a therapy junkie. She loved self-help and therapy. And I remember she and I would go for walks around the neighborhood, and something would be up between us. And she'd keep pressing on me about what I felt. And I'd tell her what I was thinking, right? I think this, think that. And she goes, no, that's not a feeling. What are you feeling? We'd walk, and we would just keep making loops around the neighborhood until I could get down to a feeling state. And I'd tell her what I was thinking. And she keeps saying, that's not a feeling. That's what you're thinking. And I go, well, I think I feel angry. She goes, no, you're still telling me what you think you are supposed to feel. And I go, okay, I feel like you're being a bitch to me. She goes, no, that's not a feeling either. And what I likened it to is that she was wanting me to just like turn on some faucets and just like, feelings run out of the faucet just by turning a switch on. I had no frigging clue how to turn on those faucets. And I just felt like I was, back in junior high up at the chalkboard in school trying to do a math problem that I had no clue of even, where to begin on the math problem. That's how it was, struggling to get in touch with my feeling states. Now, I did learn one thing from that process. It's better that men learn how to address their feelings from other men rather than from a girlfriend or a wife, because they just feel things differently than we do. They just feel everything that their being is feeling. Right. And so, my ex-wife used to say, she'd cry after she'd have an orgasm. And she said, I remember she asked me one time, how come you never cry after you come? And I go, I don't know. Never thought about it. Why would I cry after I come? But she was just feelings. And I was just like, yeah, that felt good, but that was it. So I love that a lot of the work that men coaches are doing with men now is about getting into their body. Embodiment work, grounding work, breath work, moving energy, moving tension, getting to know who we are and being with that and accepting it and feeling it and just experiencing it. And I keep just seeing that over and over again. Like I said, a lot of coaches teaching men, like, used to be, when the quote pickup or seduction coaches were going to teach a guy pickup, they'd put a big bow in his hair, or, strap a dildo to his head, or, put him in a tutu and take him to the mall and say, all right, go talk to women with these clever lines and stuff like that. Maybe they still do that, but now it's more like, all right, we're going to bring these really attractive coaches into like the room here while we work with you. And we're going to have you approach her and hold out your hand and say hello. But now we're going to talk with you about how are you grounded? How are you breathing? Where is your energy locking up in your body? Where are you getting kinked? Where are you leaning too far forward? Where are you cocked? Where are you? And now it's like it's going deep. It's doing embodiment work, and even like taking guys like into Jungian stuff of going into our shadow and using. Yeah. I love that so much coaching is going around that, and even like around being vulnerable. I know there's probably some sides of coaching out there with men. Don't be vulnerable. Don't let her see you be vulnerable. Don't let on. Don't give her. But vulnerability is such a turn on to women. Now, yes. Now I do say, don't make a woman your therapist. Don't make her your emotional tampon. Don't just gush every bad thing that's ever happened to you, all your trauma, every ex. But vulnerability is really powerful. And I had an experience with this several years ago, a long time ago. I'd started dating a woman who I came to like, and I liked her a lot. We only dated about 3 months because I realized she didn't have all the qualities I wanted for a long-term relationship, but she's still a friend of mine. I still value her tremendously, and she does me as well. And I remember we're on like about our third date, and we're out just having a little happy hour bite to eat and a glass of wine or something. And she'd let me know sometime in the first couple of dates that her ex-husband had cheated on her with a coworker. And then she found out about it, and it ended, but then it didn't. And then he left her for the coworker, moved out of state, and married the coworker. Right. And so that's her, this is her husband, the father of her two kids. And so I knew that was a really painful piece for her. Well, I ended my first marriage by having an affair with a friend of my wife's, right? And then I ended up leaving my wife and my son and marrying that woman. So I have this really similar story, right, to this woman in terms of her trauma. And I thought, okay, I kind of like her. I plan on seeing her, but I don't want to like get 3-6 months down the road and say, oh, by the way, here's this dark thing from my past. And I thought, I'd worked through it. I didn't have judgment about it by that time. I'd saw it as a mistake, but I also saw it as a learning experience. And I tell people it's what got me into recovery is those kind of mistakes. And that's why we're talking today, because I learned from those mistakes. But I thought, I got to tell her. So we're on like the third date up in this, nice little restaurant. And I said, I got something I got to tell you. And so we're sitting kind of knee to knee. And I just said, I know your story about your husband and about the breakup. I said, I just have to tell you, I need to tell you this now rather than later. I did a very similar thing. I had an affair in my first marriage. It ended my marriage. It was with a friend of my wife's. I married that woman, and she's now my second ex-wife. And I said, I just had to tell you that now. And I said, hopefully I've learned from it. Hopefully, those are mistakes I don't repeat because, I've learned along the way. Now I was shaking. You hear about hearing your knees knocking? My knees were knocking. My hands were sweating. I was having chills because, I was vulnerable to tell a woman that, I was starting to like that, something that might make her say, you're a fucking asshole. I don't ever want to see you again. But I took the chance because I had to. I just had to. And so I got done. It took me all of about 60 seconds to tell it, just like here. She took my hand in her hand and she said, no, I actually don't think you're a terrible person. And yes, I want to keep seeing you. And yes, I think more highly of you now than I did even before. I'm going, oh, that's good shit. I tell her I fucked around on my first marriage and she thinks highly of me. Good. We're on a good track here. But it was being vulnerable. And again, don't just gush all this stuff out at women. That's not their job to put on the therapist hat and pick up the pieces of your broken life. But it was about me being real with a woman in a way that could have sent her running or in a way that make her trust me more because she knew that was a difficult truth for me to reveal to her. And so I can't say enough about just the power of you being real and authentic and vulnerable with people in general, not just the women that, you want to try to get into bed, with everybody. Be vulnerable, be real. Now, decide how much of you share with people. I don't go around sharing what I shared with you with everybody. Actually, I do, because now anybody can watch it. And I've told the story many times, so it's not new information. But I wouldn't just walk up to a stranger on the street and say, oh, by the way, here's something you need to know about me. I'd get at least 15 minutes into the conversation before I'd go there. But yeah, we get to decide what we reveal about ourselves to whom. But when you got nothing to hide, again, you have such a free energy about you that people find that really engaging.
Yeah. And I think it kind of ties into something you said before is when we're vulnerable with who we are, when we share the parts of us that we maybe previously had shame for, even in the moments we still have some shame or guilt, or we feel that people may not like, it allows people to see our humanity. They can connect with the imperfection in us and be like, I'm with a human here. I'm with a real person, just like me, a real tangible person who has made mistakes, owned up to mistakes as well. And I think that's a big part of it when we discuss kind of faults and mistakes and fears as well. I think fears is a really good one to discuss, is that when you hear someone voice it, it gives permission to other people as well to speak, to be free. You're basically saying you can also be free. It's why I speak to a lot of guys and I say to them, I'm like, you should lead the vulnerability in a relationship. You should lead the vulnerability in your dating, because when you lead, you're taking on that masculine role, that masculine energy of leading, but with that soft edge of love and wisdom and mental balance of with your vulnerability, and the woman will go, I'm safe. The intimacy, the safety piece. This man is the sort of man that will be vulnerable with who he is. I can relax, and my body can relax a little bit more with this man.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm just such a big believer of men's group to do this kind of work. If we wait till we get with a woman we like and try to do this work, we're going to struggle. And I've done the majority of my nice guy recovery in men's groups, in 12-step groups that were all men, and just in men's therapy groups. I'm still in a men's program to this day. I've been in it for 3 years. I still lead workshops and places that emulate men's groups, mainly where men have a safe place to be real, to be themselves, to hear other men be real. And you've probably seen this. So amazing. One guy will share some pain of his story, and then people feel some empathy for that. And then they feel safe to reveal some pain of their story. And then people come to support him. And then, all of a sudden, everybody's being really real and vulnerable and supportive and loving. And it is just such an energy that, I love. That's why I love working with men. I just love creating those safe spaces where men can be themselves and take those risks and be vulnerable and get support from other men and find out these beliefs we have about ourselves are not accurate. This belief that if anybody found out about this dark piece of me, they wouldn't have anything to do with me. Just an example, this men's program I'm in a program with a guy named John Wineland.
I love his work.
Yeah, he's been my coach for 3 years, and I'm probably about to start a 4th year working with him. And right now we're wrapping up this last year that got delayed a lot by COVID. We're going to have one final workshop, and he gave us an assignment leading up to that I've already done a couple times with him around taboo, where we have to write a scenario about a sexual taboo that involves us. That his way of putting it, he always begins with, it has to make you at least a little bit nauseous. And hopefully it makes you quite a bit nauseous and turns you on both. And I remember the first time I did this taboo with him, and then you read them to each other, right? Oof. And oh man, some are really dark. Some of them give me the willies. John has to sit up there in front of everybody smiling. Thanks for sharing, and we're all going, whoa, and didn't see that one coming. And, but I got a nickname, out of my taboo from the group of guys. But then the thing was, I integrated that into the sex play that my wife and I have together. I brought that into it, and now it's a part that she loves about our sex play. But at one time, this made me really uncomfortable and really uneasy. But because I did that work with safe men and kind of it allowed me to take a look into the darkness there and see what's there. And, as weird as this sounds to a lot of nice guys, women want that darkness. They want that dark shadow part of ourselves. That doesn't mean they don't want us to treat them bad or be assholes, but they like that dark side of us. I mean, if we're just showing them, the sterile Teflon part of ourselves, again, they get bored by that. So like I said, I brought this taboo home to my wife, and now, it's just integrated into our sex play and fantasy talk that we have with each other. So John has re-given us a similar assignment and even taken it to another level for those of us who've worked with him for a few years. And I just had a call with, short call with him in a group just before I got on with you. And I said, John, I'm actually struggling with this a little bit, because he said, the assignment is, what is a no for you sexually, emotionally, psychically? What is the no that? And he said, and after naming that, what would we have to be in order to open to that,
Mm.
right? And somebody asked a question about it. I said, well, John, I got a question. I said, you've given examples like, peeing on each other, this, that. And I said, we've been doing that shit for years, So I said, to really get to a no, I said, other than it just being something amazingly physically painful or something, I said, I don't know that I've got any places where I couldn't at least go there, in terms of imagining it or, talking about it openly. Now, in saying that, I'm not saying, oh, look how evolved I am. It was an honest look at myself of saying, I couldn't have said that 30 years ago either. I would have
Mm.
had lots of blocks around. But again, like my wife and I have such an open sexual dialogue with each other. That it lets us work through our insecurities and our blocks. I mean, she's a typical jealous Latina woman who accuses me of every woman's butt she looks at. She assumes I'm looking at that woman's butt, and accuses me of that. And so that's gone. But she can tell me the nastiest, dirtiest stories that involve multiple people and me doing multiple things. That because we're both open to going into that darkness about ourselves.
Yeah.
And it lets it release that dark energy to where we can use it as fun and fuel and entertainment, and is less likely to get acted out or hidden in those dark ways
Mm.
that it does for so many men. Whatever we push down and don't address, it finds a way out, but it usually finds out a way, in these really, it leaks out in these really toxic kind of ways. And so yeah, the deeper we can go with this stuff with other men and get feedback that, no, yeah, that's dark, brother, but I love you to death. And I love you even more now because you let me see your darkness. And then we can bring that to the world. There's life energy in that. We can bring it to our woman. We can bring it to women, and we're not hiding it away and repressing it. There's some emotional tension that will get women's attention.
Yeah, yeah. And I love what you're saying about men bringing that with other men. This is something I've been doing a lot in the last, like definitely last year or two. Is like being around men, being with men. Like I can see from my own personal life that I had a distrust for men, a distrust of masculinity. And I had to really work through that over the last kind of 5 or 10 years. Like with my father, having conversations with him, he was very estranged for me. And it made me feel like men are bad. I was raised by my mum and my 3 sisters.
Yeah.
Men are bad, men are wrong. I definitely see, there's definitely a lot of nice guy tendencies in me in those years. And I had this thing around masculinity being bad, right?
Yeah.
It was very easy to pick that up as you're growing up. Masculinity is wrong, masculinity is bad. And I just want to get into like, what is it? Why is it that nice guys have an issue with masculinity and other men? Why do they generally shy away from being in the men's group or being around men who feel powerful?
That's a good question. And you actually gave a lot of explanation as to what goes into it from your own experience. And I had similar experience. I had good connection with my father in a lot of ways. He taught me to play sports and came to my practices and took the family camping and took me fishing. And I have a lot of good memories about my father. He passed away about 11 years ago. But he was also moody and self-absorbed and critical and demanding. And, so everybody in the family walked on eggshells around him. And my mother was codependent, and we'd sit around as, kids, and my mom commiserate, what a bad man dad was. And my mother even told me she was raising me and my brother to be different from our father. And she actually later apologized for both doing that and for saying that. So I give my mom a lot of credit for that. She said that wasn't a good thing to put on you as a boy. And so I was consciously raised by my mother to be different from my father. And so I didn't want to be like that bad Ben. And I grew up during the angry feminism of the 60s and 70s, where every man's a rapist, an erection's a sign of aggression, those are all these things. And, I thought, women hate men and they think men who want sex are bad. So I got to hide all that stuff. And so because, it always felt comfortable going to my mother and sharing companionship with her and listening to her talk about her problems. I just, even though I played sports and I loved being with guys, when I wanted closeness, I'd go to women, to go get that. And And when I started doing my nice guy work, um, and, got into a men's group, and I started realizing I like being with men. And actually, this kind of pursuit of female validation never really serves me. It
Mm.
doesn't put any money in the bank, and it doesn't, make my life any better. I'm just sitting around giving to them all the time. But I get with guys, and there's this mutual, give and take and sharing and reciprocity. Now you can have that with women as well, but I think a good place to learn that is with men. And so I made a conscious decision, for example, when I'd like go to, Rotary meetings or Lion Club meeting for my business, for a luncheon meeting, or I go to a conference. I used to find that like the table or the group that had the most women sitting there, and I'd go find an empty chair and sit around the women. I get to be, the special one. They're going to think I'm a great guy. I quit doing that. I'd go seek out the men's table and go get in the men's group. It's one of the reasons why I joined a men's group, 3+ years ago. I just need men. I mean, if, I was on a call the other day, and I shared my last week's calendar, and almost all on Zoom, but everything on it was either working with men clients, spending time with my guy friends, doing online groups, online workshops, just everything was men. And I just absolutely love that. And so I made that conscious decision to start connecting with men, and it's just filled my life up. Now, when guys tell me, well, I just don't connect with men, they just want to drink and chase women and watch sports and blah, blah, blah. And I'll go, yeah, there's guys out there like that. And actually, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, nothing wrong with, having a drink, watching game on TV, talking about women. Why not? But I said, when you're just minimizing that all men are just that and that alone, that's you projecting your fear of men and coming up with an excuse. Like I said, nice guys have a lot of excuses to keep us feeling safe. And I go, there's lots of men out there, and I know because I'm one of them and I've been working with them for 25 years. There's lots of men out there that want to get real and that want to have real relationships. So when a guy just says, no, all men are like that, I can't relate to them, that's why I only hang out with women. I go, no, you're hanging out in the nursery where it's soft and it's easy and nothing's demanded of you and nothing's challenged of you. And you can get this external validation by being the good boy. I said, that's not, you living that way, you're not going to put a fucking dent in the universe. You're not going to make a difference. We got to be with men. We need tribe. We need masculine initiation. We need the challenge that men provide and the support and the love. We just got to have that. And I mean, and to add this, I'll throw a little curveball into this. Something I began sharing in the last year or so in my workshops and with my clients that really seems to resonate with men. You've mentioned masculine, feminine. There's lots of models of how that works, all the way ancient Eastern, yin and yang, Data's masculine, feminine, Wineland's adaptation. A lot of people adapt on it. And I've broken it down just real simple. And it's probably stupidly simple, but I just say the masculine does and the feminine is done too. The masculine penetrates, the feminine is penetrated. And I say we all have a masculine side and a feminine side, men, women, both. Straight men probably have more of a masculine emotional side. We probably get more joy out of penetrating than we do out of being penetrated, emotionally, physically, otherwise. Most straight women, even though most nowadays operate in their masculine a lot, they're doing, they're working, they got careers, even raising kids. Being a mom is masculine because you're doing all the time. And so a lot of women have a hard time really getting into their feminine side. That's why if we men can create a masculine polarity for women and they can open up and relax into that, it's really a gift to the feminine. Now, here's the thing. I tell guys, you got to start with your own inner feminine. We men go out looking for female creatures, feminine creatures to come love us and fill us. But here's the thing I've been telling guys for a while. I believe it's the masculine that is the source of love, and it's the feminine that is a seeker and receptor of love. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, love is intention and action. Those are very masculine traits. Yes. Intention and action. Go Google Scott Peck's definition of love from the book, The Road Less Traveled. It's very much, it is the will to act in one's own or another's best interest for their own spiritual growth or best interest. It's intention and action, masculine traits. So what happens is when we men go looking for love and it's our feminine side that wants to be loved and valued and appreciated and filled, and go looking to other feminine creatures. And the way I put it is the feminine is a big empty bucket with a hole in the bottom wanting to be filled. Right? That's the feminine. Fill me, fill me, fill me. The feminine is not self-filling. It has to be filled externally by the masculine. Right? And again, this isn't a guy-girl thing. We all have a masculine, feminine side. So I tell men, and I got this term from John Wineland, we have to start husbanding our own feminine. We have to start acting lovingly and filling our own feminine bucket up. And it's got a hole in the bottom, running out as quick as we fill it. But when we fill our own bucket up, now love overflows out of our feminine bucket, which seems to attract love and can fill the feminine buckets of the people we care about. Our partner, our children, our lovers, our family members, the world, it'll fill the bucket of the world. But we have to consciously, our masculine, fill our feminine bucket to overflowing. Because if we go out with an empty bucket looking for a feminine creature to love us, i.e. fill us up, basically to be masculine, to have intention and will towards us. Now, I'm attracted to women of strong masculine traits. My wife could kick my ass. She knows she could. She can out squat me. She grew up 8 out of 10 kids in poverty in Guadalajara, Mexico. I grew up middle-class family in white bread, Seattle, Washington. She can kick my ass. She's very masculine. She can get shit done. And I love that about her. And she just loves to open and submit and relax into my leadership and my love, because she knows how open-hearted it is and that I truly look out for her best interest. And she also knows I've filled my own bucket up first. Right? So like just an example, I get up 7 o'clock in the morning before everybody else in the house, go down. I got a 9-month-old pit bull puppy. I've just, ever since we got her, been my job at 7 o'clock, let her out of her little, her cage and go outside. And I sit outside for 2 hours. I live in Mexico. I can sit outside in shorts and t-shirt year round, watch the sun come up, watch the animals, the birds. The dog sits on a recliner chair next to me. I can scratch her neck. I can do some meditation. I can look at nature. I can breathe it in. I can do some visualization and then start doing a little writing while I'm out there. And before, it's an hour and a half to 2 hours before anybody ever comes out. That is the most nurturing, filling thing for me. And then I'm ready. I'm ready to be there to fill the buckets of the people I care about, because I've taken the time to fill my own bucket. And I'll do that throughout the day by connecting with my guy friends, by exercising, by walking, by spending time in solitude, by listening to music, by meditating. I'll keep filling that feminine bucket up so I don't have to go looking for it anywhere else. And in fact, it just seems to come. Once you've been filling your bucket, you just experience love. You're overflowing with it, and then you'll find it overflowing onto you as well. So that's a piece I've just started sharing in the last year or so about it's the masculine in ourselves and in women as well. It's the masculine that is the source and the giver of love. Now, there's probably a lot of spiritual teachers out there say, Robert, you're full of shit. But it works. When I share this with men, every man goes, how come nobody ever told me that before? How come I've been going to empty buckets trying to get them to fill me? And they go, how come nobody told me that wasn't going to work? And it explains why it doesn't work when we men go seeking women to fill us up and make us feel whole and complete and loved and desired. It doesn't work.
Yeah, we have to nurture our own selves, as you said, nurture our feminine through, being with other men. And it's almost like their masculine it helps us fill up our feminine. And then we nurture ourselves through, the emotional work we've talked about, being intimate with our internal selves, our lives, like what we've experienced. We create that intimacy of ourselves. Again, it fills up our feminine bucket. So when we go out into the world, as you say, it's like there's so many men roaming around just hoping for a woman to love him in the way his mother did, right? To replace that, so he can feel that unconditional love. How
he wished his mother did.
Yeah. But I love how you said it's like love, like active love. Here, what I really hear is this active love is masculine. It's not waiting; it's taking action, and it's almost in the same way we look at. I talk a lot about relationships as well, because often we people get into relationships when they forget that you have to nurture a relationship. There's
Sure.
active love. You need to take action in the love to move it forward. But no, I love that. It's really beautiful. The masculine feminine principles within a man. We often forget that. Like, it's so important to remember that there are this other side to us that isn't just our masculinity that we have to heal our relationship with. There's also our feminine side that as men we must heal our relationship with that, so that when we come to meet a woman who's feminine, we're coming with our healed self. Hopefully they have their healed side and we can connect deeper and truly.
Which makes me think of a piece. A lot of men, you come across them, I see them. They're out there in the internet. They're everywhere. Men that have a lot of resentment towards women.
Anger, yeah.
Anger, resentment, and here's the irony of that. Yeah, part of this is because men have been seeking women to fill us up with something, to want to have sex with us, to think we're special, to want to be our girlfriend, whatever. So we've been seeking that. And even if you do find it, it still doesn't fill you in the way you think it does. So you still end up feeling resentful that, hey, they hold the key. How come they don't use it? Why don't they fill me up and make me feel good? But here's where I think that depth of that resentment comes from. Is that, the feminine is basically in competition with other feminine for scarce resources, with love being the scarcest resource. And if we are not loving our own feminine, she gets really crabby, really bitchy, really resentful. And then we start resenting these other women that our masculine keeps, we give stuff to, we listen to them, we buy them stuff, we worship them. And our own inner feminine's going here, what the hell? How come you're making all that investment in those other women out there and I get totally neglected? That is where I think the majority of male resentment comes from. It's in our neglect of our own inner feminine, that we're not taking care of that feminine part of ourselves. But while we're trying to give to other feminine, hoping that they'll give something back to us. That's where I think the depth of that resentment comes from. And I think one way to release this generalized resentment and anger and rage towards women, and it's real. I mean, it's real. Women feel it. We feel the same thing coming from women as well. But I think that one of the most powerful ways is like we've been talking about, go connect with men and quit putting our dependency on women to make us feel whole and loved and desirable, and then start consciously filling our own feminine bucket up to where once it's overflowing with love, what's there to be resentful about? Who's there to be pissed off at? Who's there to think, well, you let me down, or you didn't love me in the way I wanted to be loved by you, right? If we're filling our own feminine up, there's nothing lacking. And it seems to me that this resentment and rage and anger always comes from a sense of lack, that we got to blame on somebody. It's their fault I lack, right? We got to own it. We got to take good care of our own. We got to husband our own feminine. And me, this isn't a terminology or a concept you hear talked about a lot. Hopefully more and more we will. I know, like I said, I got that term from John Wineland. But I've made my own application to it in terms of the empty bucket and seeking outside of ourselves. And I think when we men do a better job of husbanding our own feminine, we're going to be happier people. We're going to be more attractive. We'll be less resentful. We'll get nobody to be resentful at. And I think that can go a long way to healing a lot of the gender wounding and battles that are going on out there that just, it seems like the internet is driven by, those kind of battles between men and women.
Yeah.
So I hope for that anyway.
Yeah, totally. It's that it's the suppression of the feminine. We always look at feminism as a drive for women. And I was talking to someone recently, is actually feminism is a drive to liberate the feminine, but not just in women, but in men, to bring it to a point where it's equal, and we can look at our feminine sides, whether that be intuition, empathy, emotions, flow, healing, and we can look at those things and go,
craziness, right? Impulsiveness, let's embrace all of that.
And they have value, and they have value in the world to evolve the world forward, but not just the world, but also ourselves. It's like just being more whole, being more integrated, being more loving of our own selves. As you said, it's like this rejection of our own feminine nature as men that we also then project outwards onto other people, and rejecting the feminine in them as well.
Yeah. And if you have women listening to this, find out, would they find a man who's done a good job husbanding his own feminine, who's filling himself up, who doesn't need anything from a woman, but yet loves and values women and wants connection with women, but doesn't need them because he's filled. Would women find that attractive in a man? Would they find that to be a turn on? And I expect there's a lot of heads nodding that where are those guys? Where do I find the guy who's with me because he wants me, not because he's so empty that he's looking to hook up a hose to me and try to get me to give to him to fill up his emptiness.
Yes, there'd be a lot of women nodding. I speak to a lot of women through social media asking me, like, where do I find men? Where are the men you're working with? Where are all these
I get
men?
those questions. Women say, well, when they find out I work with men, they go, well, what do you teach men? So I give them a little nutshell. They usually say, well, teach them to clean their fingernails and trim their ear and nose hair, and then they go, and basically they say, tell them to be bold. Tell them to be bold. Just step up, ask for what you want. Don't be passive. Don't wait for me to put up a billboard that says, ask me for my number. Don't wait for me to have. So it's that boldness. But when a man is filling himself up, there's just something about him that is just energetically going to create this polarity for the feminine and draw it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's beautiful. Really beautiful concept with this the husbanding. I love that. I'm going to sit with that when I re-listen to this afterwards because I really love that. It's something I see. I've been doing for myself, but not putting it in such a terms. But I love that. I really do.
Yeah, it's part of my conscious practice now. It is how I consciously live my day. Creating some solitude, creating time in nature, creating time with men, creating time just to nurture my physical, emotional, spiritual self. It's part of a practice. At kind of the age I'm at, I don't need a lot of masculine practice nowadays. I'm challenging myself in lots of powerful ways, and I just really, in the last year or two or three, realized how much feminine filling I need, how much feminine practice I need, and man, it's just liberating. It's just like, every day feels amazing, and I love it.
Beautiful. Oh, Robert, we've covered so many topics. It's incredible. What a fountain of knowledge and wisdom and experience as well.
I don't want to add bullshit to that, but okay. It all blends together. Yeah. Thank you.
No.
This has been great. I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy sharing wisdom with men, and I appreciate people like you that do the work you do with men, and especially around being authentic. I just love that. Anything that's teaching people to be authentic, I'm for that. I'm behind that.
Yeah. The more the world can be authentic, I think the more the world will heal and come together and see each other in their power and drop a lot of the ego. So where can our listeners get in contact with you, speak to you, coach with you, find out about the many workshops that you're running? I know you're still really active from what you said earlier in running workshops.
Yeah, still got a lot going on. So just, easy enough, drglover.com, just drglover.com. And it's got my online university, workshop schedule, consultation, books, podcasts. And if they want to Google Robert Glover or Google No More Mr. Nice Guy, I've got all the top spots on those pages. So, but drglover.com will get you everything that I've got out there.
Yeah, and I must recommend the workshops. It's not one I've done, but I've met a lot of men who have been to your men's groups. Like a friend of mine was saying to me earlier, when I said, "Oh, I'm speaking to you," he's like, "Oh my God, like I've been to his men's group. It made such a difference to me. It really helped me with the issues that I was dealing with." I know guys who have, one of my coaching clients actually came to me after we'd done a boot camp with your organization. He was just like, man, it was just like really eye-opening to see how he was being. So I can't recommend your work more.
Well, I know you're in the UK, and that because of COVID, I've been doing virtual workshops now, and I just wrapped up two a couple of weeks ago that both had a couple. Well, the Sunday one, I think I had 3 people from the UK and a couple other from Europe. So I love that doing the virtual workshops. I really can reach out worldwide, literally all over the world. So again, we have reactions to things like COVID, but at the same time is creating new opportunities and new experiences that we didn't have before. So yeah, I'd love for your listeners to reach out and see if there's something I've got that might be helpful for them.
Yeah, and I highly recommend it, guys and girls. Cool. So I think that is a wrap. We've covered so much. I imagine you've got a lot of things swimming around in your head, listeners. But big thanks to Robert for joining us today. And I will see you on our next episode.